This is a private session with Crew 10 up in Chiang Mai's Santai gym. And I was told that Crew 10 was a good Muay Khao fighter. And so when I went and told him that I wanted to work on Muay Khao knee techniques, he just kind of grunted and was like, okay. And then turned it into this like incredible technical session of just unrolling technique after technique after technique that demonstrated how much knowledge this guy has, and his kind of gruffness in character matches perfectly the way that he demonstrated his knees and his kind of processes in staying close and staying on people. He's very sticky. His style is very sticky. And this ultimately was one of my favorite sessions that I've ever had. And I really, really like Crew 10. I had a lot of fun and have been messing around with his techniques recently. And they're really good. So this is Crew 10. So when we first started out, he was just seeing how I do things. So he's angling my foot to the outside for the knee. So if you put your heel to the outside, you can keep your standing knee straight. He doesn't want you pivoting on it, but you come up on your toe. And then if you bring your foot kind of to the outside, that's what's going to angle the knee to the center. So it's really important when you step forward on those knees that your standing leg knee is facing your opponent and you don't pivot on it the way you do on a kick. So he wants me to block the knee there and then come back with a knee. So it's basically block, knee. So I have to follow him around a little bit. So I'm barely doing footwork, but he's just feeling out my power and rhythms and checking my technique on all of these different things so that he can make these minor corrections at the beginning. Here he's showing how to reach across and kind of pull someone into your knee, but you can also trip them. It's the same reach across on the knee and the trip, but you go to their front leg and just give it a little tap while you're pulling on them. I had a hard time with that one. I was kind of keeping my hips back, which you can't really do. But when you come off of that block, it has to be the same rhythmic step forward on the knee that you would be doing if you were marching in. So it's teaching you to come off of strikes, ready to throw the next one. And now he's having the elbows and knees work together, which elbows and knees go together so nice. So he has this little pull down on the hand, and then you go over it to land the elbow. His front elbow is crazy. Kevin and I call it the rhino because he doesn't even, you'll see people throwing that upward elbow where it slashes up. I just did it that way a little bit. You don't even have to pull it up. You basically just use it like an axe battering ram in front of you and like jam it in. You'll see my hip turn every time I throw it because I'm trying to do that upward thing. He just steps straight in. I love that elbow. And if you just watch all the things that he's showing, here he's pulling both arms down at the same time and then does what's called a fan sok, which means like an elbow that comes across horizontally. So the arms, as you're grabbing them, have to be a little bit tense as you pop someone in for that elbow. So you're basically pulling them into the space that you're going to elbow. Whereas all of these elbows are kind of stepping into space. So he kind of pats like a parry, the hand down, and then comes through with the elbow. So you have to step hard on those. You can see how close you have to stay for all of these techniques, but you're not crowding yourself. It's very, very measured. Oh, there's that elbow. It's so cool. I wish we could do a POV where you guys could see that thing coming at you, because it's horrifying. It's so cool. So now he wants the right side coming in, but you see how you pat down the other hand first? So you basically parry the arm with your left hand and then throw the upward right elbow. So it's almost like a jab cross in terms of rhythm. I really like the pace that he was teaching me at. It's fast enough that you have to feel how everything links together, but it's slow enough that you can really feel the form on everything. And look at how he just seamlessly goes into starting turns now. Like, we've been doing knees and elbows, and now he's like, okay, now we get a little bit closer into the clinch and do these turns. Pay attention to his leg that he pulls back. See how I tripped him with it first, and then the leg came back so that I can knee. You don't want to leave it in the front after the trip. So I'm kind of leaning back, which is making it a little bit hard for me, but I'm catching myself by bringing the leg back. This is the next one where he basically just steps past me to off-balance me and then knees that wide open side. I've never seen that before, but it's awesome. See how his side just stretches and opens up when he goes off balance? That is a beautiful point. I should be coming right on his ribs. So you step past and then just kind of like guide the person down with your hand that's behind their neck. We're different sizes, so the way I off balance him is a little bit different from the way he does to me, but it's also his angle. See how he steps past me and then just like pulls me? That I did much better. That was closer to how he does it. And then see how he brings his legs so wide for that knee? That's not only so that you can get good power on it, but it is very dramatic for the point. That's a huge point. So he's like, let's go in the ring so that we can actually throw each other on the ground. That step past and then kneeing the open side is especially good because if you can hit someone while they're off balance, not only is it a really high point, but they're not going to counter you because they're off balance. So you can see how I have to kind of follow him. I'm stretching myself out a little bit too far. He's saying they'll go down for sure if you like walk past them. It's almost like how Ramba does those walking past trips. But watch his feet when he demos to me. So now he's switching up, going back to the one we had just done where I was like, I really like this trip. I use this trip in my own clinching and fighting. It's better when your opponent is coming towards you, but he can do it from a dead standstill. This is cool. So you push your opponent and then all of a sudden change direction with that trip because they're going to be pushing back against you. So instead of waiting for your opponent to be coming towards you, you force them to lean into you for that one. I love the back and forth, the push and pull of that. It's like you dictate everything. So this is a really, really good point as well. You just put your knee up in your opponent's belly and then yank them down as you push into it. Very dramatic point. And if you can get their hips back like that, you can fire another shot and they can't really counter you with their hips back. This is usually when you can get your knee up and wedge it between you, and then you just kind of push with the knee and pull with the arms. It's like if you're on a horse and you have to pull the reins back. So I'm doing it a little bit slow. He wants it to be all one yank down. See how he's showing that pull on my head? So it's not like muscling it. like a pop. So that's my realization right there, is that it's a yank down rather than a like slow pull. You can definitely wind someone that way. And so see how he didn't change position at all? He just flowed into the next technique based on where his hand already was. So instead of pulling someone on the neck, you're going to be pushing someone's neck as you step to the side. Stepping to the side is what creates the
wheel
tension and torque that's going to allow them to turn. But I'm pulling my body away from him. When he does it, he kind of stays really close to me. He's sticky. I'm doing this whole like yanking thing, which requires a lot more power. So there I'm doing what we had worked on before, where I'm like kind of pulling. I should be using my left forearm to kind of push his head down into the empty space I'm creating when I step out of it. You can see in my body how I'm like yanking on him. And when you go back and watch how he does it, he's not pulling. But flowing back and forth between these different techniques, you can feel how, as a knee fighter, all of these just flow into each other. It's like this never-ending dern of coming at someone. So what I'm doing is a dominant position, pushing on his chin. So he's showing how to get out of it. When someone has a double grasp on your neck, oftentimes people will try this, pushing on the chin to create space. So he grabs my arm across and then steps and uses the forearm the way he did on that one he just showed me. Yodkun Pon has a version of this one as well. So you grab the wrist and pop it off of your neck as you step. And see how my arm had to come to the outside of him? You swim your arm to the outside, but then I'm not using it for anything. You need to kind of use that arm behind the neck to push. But most of what makes this move work is that step as you pull the arm off. I need to step to the outside of his foot more so that my pivot puts me completely to the side of him. He's having me do it on both sides, and I'm more maladroit on this side, but my grip with my right arm is better. So there again, you can see my body is like pulling. You don't need to be yanking. You just need to stay close and step.
Step, yeah.
So here's another one where they have... See how he was pushing more with his right side, so that when I pulled his arm off, I was pulling him past myself a little bit. That allowed me to step closer. So here he's slowing it down. See how he steps as that arm swips, his arm swims out as he's stepping. And then he's just using his forearm on the back of my neck to like help me face dive. And he's saying you can keep doing it, like keep turning your opponent. See how I'm turning that into two separate things? I turn and then put my hand on his neck, but it should be one motion. So here's the pop over. I've actually met quite a few people coming to Thailand for the first time, and they've learned the pop over from their gym, I think, in the West, wherever they've come from. What they never do properly is this pinch afterwards. So one, you have to wait until someone's arm is a little bit long in order to get the pop over. If their arm is bent, you can't get the leverage to move it. But after you pop it over, this pinch, see how I'm not pinching his arm to him?
Lock, baby, lock.
If I lock tight, his arm is going to go across his own neck, and he's totally stuck.
Lock.
I'm not locking him properly. Here he's going to show me.
He lock his hands. It's locked, yeah.
See the limpness in my hand as he starts to turn me? That's because I can't use that arm for
They
anything.
can't get the arm out.
I'm just like hugging, right?
Yeah.
It makes your
you're
entire
hugging.
body weak.
Lock.
Like, you can't get out of that.
Yeah.
He's like, if you keep turning,
have
the
to lock.
referee won't break it. Keep spinning.
Yes.
So there the lock
In
is
his
better.
arm.
See how I'm coming across his neck? But I should be pushing my shoulder into his upper arm to pin it against his neck. So this is from a body lock position. And he does this differently from other people I've learned this from. See how he pushes my hips back? That's so I can't knee. But he also creates space. And then he just pinches his elbows together behind my elbows. He's telling me to look in the mirror so that I can see what he's doing.
It's the same.
He pushes the hips first and then does the crack.
Yeah.
So it's the Yodkun Pon taught me something where
It's
your
to get the
hands
arms
come,
extended.
you wrap your arms underneath and go between your bodies. It's similar, but you don't actually bring in. See how I tried to do it that way? You don't bring your hands to the
To
center.
crack down. It's
You
Yodkun
keep your
Pon,
hands
baby.
on the hips, which keeps them from being able to knee. But my elbows have to go behind his elbows in order to create the leverage and the crack. See how that pops his hands open?
It's the Yodkun Pon crack, right?
So now he's going to give me a little bit of resistance, and it makes it much harder. And you're, depending on how comfortable people are with the body lock, they may resist you or they may not. But see how he's pulling to be really tight? I have to create the distance by pushing on his hips and pulling my hips back at the same time. You create, it's like cracking, like splitting the sides. This is one that will help you a lot in Thailand. In Thailand, fighters use the ropes way more than in the West. So from your back being on the rope, someone pushing into you, he's showing how to break the body lock.
Arm in.
I put the wrong arm in. So you want to put the same arm as the knee you have up.
So wrong arm.
So I put my knee on him to control his hips and create space. Then I swim my arm through, and then you pivot out. And see how I didn't move his arm at all? You should be swimming under and pushing up on that arm as you spin out. But you have to crack the distance between you and your upper body in order to swim that hand down. So the knee on the thigh. He's like, don't just lay on the ropes. So this is another one of his awesome techniques for like a trip. This is timing with exchanges and knees. So you'll get a lot of these knees in the clinch. You catch it, and then again, it's using the forearm against the neck and to spin to the side. So you're not pulling on the knee so much, like you don't have to use a lot of strength for this, but you kind of like spin and step out. See how I'm just barely knocking his standing leg?
Come into it.
So this is timing, this back and forth. So he's telling me to push on the side of his neck more. That's where the trip actually happens, and then you barely touch the standing leg. It's just like a little tap. I threw myself down by doing that wrong. He's like, no. Then I start making my sounds for the clinch, and all of a sudden, it works a little bit better. But he's saying, I realize that you have to kick the leg a little bit, but it's just a tap. Watch how he does it. But the important part is the step, and then the push with the arm. You're like spinning to the
He steps
side,
on
and
the
there's
turn
no
though,
way
a
someone
little
can
bit.
balance themselves.
He step. No, he step.
So we slow it down.
him-
See how
see
he's
him
stepping
step?
to the side? And then as he brings his weight over to the foot that he stepped with, that's when he taps my standing
He
leg.
stepped forward though.
It's so gentle. You don't need any power for this move at all.
Yeah.
So there, I finally got it in that slow-mo. And he's a big dude. And when I do it correctly, I maintain balance and he does not.
No strength, yeah.
So there I say,
beautiful.
you don't need to be tight. You don't have to use any strength. And just tap it with a spin.
Oh, it's beautiful. Beautiful.
So he just said bao bao, which means like gentle. So he's explaining that you don't have to use any kind of strength for it. You're not yanking on anyone. You're just like spinning.
Oh, that's amazing.
It's a little Muay Thai pirouette. So you have to time those knees for when you're going to catch it. Otherwise it's dangerous because you're bringing your hand down. But you're already in a lock with those knees. So there's not a whole lot he can do. But you want to be ready to spin. Look at our size difference, and he can totally make this work. He's a really experienced and incredible teacher. See how he tightens up his shoulders to protect against that grip I have on him? And now we're just mixing up things that we've worked on so that you can feel the timing in the rhythm and the distance with all of it. And here he's doing the same throw, but from farther away. So if someone is doing a long knee, you can do the same thing. But see how he just spins me wider, but it's basically the same move, and he doesn't kick out my standing leg because of the distance. This is another one you'll find yourself in a lot in Thailand. Especially Thai female fighters like to do this knee on the body against the ropes.
Very good.
So he slows this one down because I had a really hard time with it, which is really good. So just watch me fail at it so you can understand the technique. He swims his hand in first. So it's the scissoring of the arms again, but you want to be pushing someone towards their foot. That's the direction that you're choosing. So look, he swims his right arm in. Oh no, he's showing me how to do it the other direction. So you can also do it this way. But see how he has to spin me farther if he goes in that direction. Swim the right arm in, goes to the neck, and then you just scissor by grabbing the knee. So see, right there when he was pulling on my arms, he's showing that there's tension. You wait for there to be tension.
Boy.
He's not using any power on that. It's incredible. So I swim my arm in, but it's got to go up to his neck. And then I have to pivot. See how I didn't move at all? You have to do the step. It's the same step as when you're turning someone in the clinch. It's exactly the same, like a pivot. I'm having a hard time pushing on his neck because of our size difference, but that's a pretty integral part to getting the spin proper. So I'm basically just pinning the standing leg. You don't have to kick it. You just tap it a little bit. But he's saying that after you tap the leg, you need to bring your leg all the way back in order to land the knee off of it. So see how he brought his leg back after he tapped my foot? Swim in onto the neck. And then I'm not really scissoring my arms as much as I should as I'm pivoting over to the side. This is different because see how his foot is positioned to the inside of my leg? He's saying this one's easy. He's like, they go down for sure because it's a less strong position. See how he didn't go down, but I still had a completely open shot to his belly? That's good. Even if they don't fall. So he's saying put power in the arms. So he created that tension by pushing against me so that I had to push back harder with my leg. And then my arms got really tense. So you kind of step into them as the person who's going to be doing the tripping. You step in order to create the tension in the distance between you. I loved this one. So you don't want to fight against, you don't want to just try to crawl on someone. You can step back, but if they're really strong, you take the foot with you and then kick. See how he's about to go to my open side on that? He's like, or just do this. So he's showing how there are different options, whether your opponent is very tense or very strong or any of those things. That one I love. It's very natural feeling.
Yeah.
And especially with a huge size difference, that one's really, really good. So he wants that little step back first because of the tension he has against my body. It kind of off balances him very slightly. But if they're pushing against your body, just move. Look at the step back on his leg when he does that. Imitate that. That's like the whole point. So I'm starting to get the scissor in the arms a little bit better there. He's like, you can knee and kick, just keep attacking. Like, if they stay off balance, keep attacking. So you can see the tension in our arms. Now he's switching sides, so I know to go the other way because of which leg he has up. So you can kind of see it from the other side, and you can see that I did not step with my left leg. So he's showing how it's very simple, like it's just 2 moves basically. See where he puts his hand on my neck so that he can like push my head down? So I need to go the other way. So see how I'm still scissoring my hands, but I'm pushing in the opposite directions. My hands are in the opposite positions because he's saying you can go in either direction. So see how he's pushing my leg across my body? So my left hand is going to push and my right hand's going to push, but they like scissor together. And then me stepping to the side creates greater torque.
You understand?
Yeah, I was going the wrong way.
So that way it's just much easier for me in terms of like the way my body is comfortable moving, but you can go both directions. So there he's not going to go down, but see how he dives forward, and so I can still get a really strong knee in. He likes that one too. Now he's imitating what Farang do. He's like, don't just push against people. It's like one of the few times he smiled in this whole session is when he was showing how not to do that. He's like, Farang loved to do this. So see how by him just trying to push against me, now I have the advantage because I can block and then knee, block and then knee, block and then knee. So he's like the person who has their back against the ropes, if you're just shoving your body against them, then they have the advantage. So here he's showing more options for when you do that step back. You can punch the body. And after you punch the body, then you can do this knee. I can't tell you how much you would gut bust someone to do a body slam twice. Like the punch and then the knee. I don't care how many sit-ups you do. So here just showing a few more angles, and we're just practicing it to kind of get the rhythm. And if they're pushing against your body, it's super easy to unfold that leg because they're already pushing. So now he's having me practice this again, and I don't get my arms behind his elbows in time, which is why that took me a while. You have to get your elbows behind their elbows in order to get that position. So what he's saying to me there is that it has to be like one power move. Like you don't want to like keep struggling against it. Watch him do it. See how it's just one crack? Bop. I said like sumo, and he's like, yeah, sumo. So 1 is pushing the hips back, and then 2 is that crack, and then I'm already diving forward from the crack, and he just
take
pulls
wide
me.
stance, and he lean forward. Yeah.
The difference in his body position and mine is that I do put my butt back, like as I'm pushing his hips back, but he actually stands up really tall at the same time. He like straightens himself a lot. I do what in Thai they call it goom. It means like kind of bending your body forward. Don't do that. Don't hunch. So here he's pushing underneath my armpit and pulling my neck. That one is a slight lift, but you can see how my feet get completely tangled together as he turns. I cannot catch myself. And he's not lifting me high into the air. It's just a tiny little lift. And then his knee interrupts my leg, which is what's making my other leg fly into the air.
Over the
We're
thigh.
not the same size,
Pull over your
so it's hard for me.
Yeah.
But it's just a little lift.
Yeah, Nam Kabul.
Nam Kabuan was known as the body throw expert. He's really good at stuff like this. But see how my leg is just barely off balancing him with the lift. So the lift is what makes him more easy to move. It's like how if someone's in water, they're really light. That slight lift makes it so that interrupting their leg can just be a tiny little tap. This is from someone being in a locked position. So see how I step to the side of him, and then I should just be walking to the side. I don't understand it yet. There, how I kind of just lean to the outside of his body. So he's telling me to lock, and now he's going to show what he does when I lock. It's one of my favorite things ever. He just throws me on the ground.
Beautiful.
So he waited for my knee to come up, but I'm in a locked position, but he has leverage on this side because of the way my arm is stretched up. So he just puts like his upper arm underneath my armpit and just shoves me. But he just leans his weight like it's not a super power move. So I wasn't getting underneath his arm, so my leverage wasn't right.
Do you see that? You feel it? Under the arm?
So see how he is telling me to step my left foot forward? It's about timing, which is why you don't have to use so much power. But here he's going to change our position so you can see. Look at his right arm and his left foot.
Oh,
See how
beautiful.
he just like leans onto,
Beautiful.
he puts all his weight on his left foot and just like brings his arm across underneath me. Like that.
He stepped. He walk.
So I wasn't
like you
understanding
walk.
how to like step past him. Like
Like you walk through.
he just did it from a standstill. Like that.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of diving my head again. I had the same problem with Ramba. You just want to keep your chest up so that you're bringing all of your body weight as one thing. It's kind of the same thing as his awesome rhino elbow. Like you bring your chest in. This was crazy as well. So when your opponent is pulling on you, right? So I'm pulling him in the clinch. He comes with me for a second and then just hooks the back of my knee. And it's like Topplesville. There's no way I can stay up when he does that. So he wanted me to do it as he's yanking me to the side. Like I need to time it so that I grab his leg. But here again is what I was talking about, how Crew 10 is sticky. Like he stays really close to you as I'm pulling. You can't try to stay back because then you're diving forward and you don't have any of that power. See how he stays really close to me so that he can grab the back of the knee?
It almost happens after you've already done it. So funny.
It totally feels like you're in the clear and then you're on your ass. Like you thought you made it. I love that there's a counter to someone pulling on you. Like, that's crazy. He's like, it's great because they're going knee, knee, knee. And then you just do this. So as I'm falling with him, my hand drops down to his knee. So my head does go in the same direction that he's pulling me. I have to let him pull me,
Your butt is out, baby.
but sticky so that my upper body is stuck to his. See how he did it? So like you lock the back of the knee, you just hook it with your little glove. And then see how he did that push with his arm? You're like pushing your chest in.
Can you feel or no?
Kind of. I'm like spastic about it.
For me, the hard thing was the timing. Like I kind of understood the technique, but I got really tense because I was being pulled. And I let my body be too far away, so I was diving forward. I didn't understand the stickiness at the time, so the timing was off. But if you stay close, your timing is kind of natural as you're diving forward. He's saying it's the same as these pushes. Like the whole system. He did it from a standstill. And it's because he had my neck and then he could just pull my leg out from under me basically. See how I'm not using my left arm against his neck? That's where my power is. And I'm just kind of leaving it. So here I'm understanding that I was like putting my butt back. But it's the same kind of scissoring thing that I was doing when he was against the rope with the knee up. Very similar with the arms. See how he grabbed me as his head came down? He's trying to teach me the timing. So he's showing me how you wait for the right moment, the timing on it. You don't want to take a whole bunch of knees, but you want to see what their rhythm is.
Oh,
You can even catch it when it's back already.
it's incredible.
My leg was already back and he caught it anyway.
Ah.
See, by him staying sticky, by him keeping his upper body on my upper body, he's guaranteed to be able to reach my leg because his shoulder is on my body. Kind of. Kind of. It's an awesome move. Like, I wish I had had a better attitude about it to be able to keep trying it. But I was trying this with my clinching partner the other day, who was closer to my size, and it was still not working, but closer. So there I was pinning his arm a little bit better, but my right side wasn't squeezing him the way that I could have. I haven't heard this from other trainers, but all the trainers at Santai call elbows L. So if you hear that at Santai, they're calling for an elbow. Oh, see that pull down? So we haven't done teeps yet. So he's like, let me show you how to be amazing with teep. See how he turned his body to the side on that teep? Here he's showing me how to not have what happened, what he was showing, how you can just lift the leg and off balance someone. So the moment your teep is caught, you start hopping and you push against, like you're pushing against a wall. When he teeps me just then, it's like it went through my bladder, like just pierced it. So the moment someone catches it, you're already hopping and kicking out again. This is the counter to the teep. You just get out of the way. Karahat does this amazingly well.
Beautiful.
But by getting out of the way, the person is off balance as they land. So see how I'm off balance and he just caught it? All he did was catch it. And now he's using his knees and elbows to parry it. It's not fun. It hurts so bad. He's doing it gently and it still sucks. Then here's the most fun. See how he pulls it to the side of his body? So he's pulling me into his elbow. Smiled again. He likes that one. So you have to pull them into you.
You have to like really yank
I'm like launching myself like a slingshot. But that step back is how you pull them. That's the part I was missing. See how his left foot comes so close to my body but over to the side getting ready for that spin? So he's pulling my leg to the side of him and then his left leg is stepping to be able to spin on the elbow.
Oh, that's
Closer.
beautiful.
You want to basically, as you're elbowing, have your back falling into their body more or less. You need to be really, really close. So he's saying this is really important for Muay Khao fighters because teep is like the enemy of Muay Khao because you come in straight so much. So he's teaching me how to deal with the teep because people are going to try to teep you. And if you want to be dern, like you just want to be walking in, you got to be able to deal with what they're trying to hit you with. But also as you come in, see how I'm using the teep in order to close space instead of keep him off of me?
I love that.
Yeah.
So am I.
So Khao is to step forward. He's saying you have to get really close. See how I'm pivoting, angling my body? He does not do that. Look at him.
Look at how close he is.
Right between the feet, yeah.
Watch me try to get out of the way of that.
Oh, like
No
through,
way,
like
man. Incredible.
Can touch.
So even if I duck, like even if I like see that elbow coming and I duck, I'm gonna duck into the elbow. So you can use that as an entrance. So he's showing another off balance. You wait for that right knee and then you just tap the standing leg. This is cool. So this is when someone is trying to trip you, what he's been showing me. This is how you get your foot out of the way so that you don't get tripped. See how he just bends his knee? He doesn't even move his hip. Just bends the knee and like flips to the outside. See how I just catch my balance that way? It's easy. It's so small. It's just a timing thing. Just not getting tripped.
Point the
And look
toe
at how
in.
hard he puts it down. It was harder on the left side for me. So he's saying if you don't lift the leg up, you go down for sure. Like this trip is really effective. So to be able to like snap your way out of it and rebalance yourself is really good. Just not getting thrown. It's like bend your knee, no go down. So see, even if you don't put someone on the ground, that off balance is really, really good to be able to land devastating strikes to take the wind out of someone.
Ask Tom.
So I had forgotten what the thing was when you were pushing someone across the ring and the sudden reversal with that trip.
You trip.
See how I'm not tripping him
trip.
because I forgot.
Yeah, trip both feet.
Push, push, and then you just kind of, it's the same spin as when you catch that knee. Knocked myself off.
You don't need power on that one. I'm like trying to.
So I was trying to use too much power, which was actually just tensing myself. And so I wasn't getting as dramatic a turn because I was tense. He wants me to jump on this knee. That is such a big point if you can get a dramatic jump knee like that.
I want you to hit his hand.
Especially as a small fighter. If you can get those dramatic knees, it's really good. So now he wants me to go back and kind of call back to the things he's been showing me. Look at how he shows the attitude of that knee, like the attitude of getting that dominant a position on someone. He's such a cool guy. So here he's showing, smiled again because I would die right there. This catching of the arms as someone's trying to come in, that's about the tension of the arms. There's a fighter named Muay, Pinsinchai gym, who's really good at that. So he's showing how when someone catches your teep, other than jumping and teeping them off of you, you can also just snatch your foot back. You have to turn your knee down in order to make your foot go sideways. Otherwise, they can keep gripping it. So I'm rushing because it should be like a pretty fast motion. But see how his is fast even though he's not rushing? You have time to turn your knee to the side to like break the lock. And then you do the secondary teep. Turning the knee down is the important part. So here he's showing me, see how much my knee is turning down? And then it's almost like a donkey kick.
Slow.
So I was trying to snatch it back as like this super fast move, which you don't have to do. You just turn it to block, to break the lock, and then you have time for that second teep. Oh. You can see that we've been working on this distance this entire time. And so he's just putting me into these different positions to be able to deal with any of his counters and turn it back into my advantage. I'm getting one arm stuck, so I was having a hard time with that one. After you break the arm, you totally want to turn and throw the knee. Don't just break the arm. So I should be coming towards him a little bit more, like this relentless stalking him down. He's being very generous and kind of staying in one spot for me. So you can see how you can like just not even break pace and just kind of keep pushing someone back. And then they get on the ropes and you punish them that way. It's so nasty. It's such a cool style. He's excited now. The right energy. Ooh.
Oh, sure. Oh, it's beautiful. So beautiful.
So here we're going to do some pad work, which this is kind of incredible to me that we've been working together for like 45 minutes already and we've not done really any kicking or punching, which is incredible that you can just have an entire style that's knees and elbows and locks and trips. So it's the same, we've been working at this distance that's all my distance for these knees and elbows and locks and trips and clinching and all that stuff. But when you have kicks and knees and punches and everything put together, now you have different distances. And when you're working in pad work, that's when you really insist on your distance. You should not let your trainer put you at the pad work distance all the time. You need to be moving your trainer around to have your correct distance. But when you do pad work, now everything's about power. When we were working before on technique, it's all technique. So you take everything down and it's all just form. But now when it's time to throw power into everything, you have to change your pace and change your distance and kind of like keep adjusting. But he has a really nice slow pace so that you can work on the technique and the power at the same time. Working on balance there a little bit. You can watch how he's just backing up measured so that I can kind of stalk him down, which is basically what a Muay Khao fighter is going to be doing in the ring. So he wants me to be doing what we were doing in technique of like pushing the pad down and parrying. He wants me to actually pull. When someone has a glove, you can do that. You can pull against their glove and it pulls them into the elbow. It's the same as the teeth. When you pull the teeth. But he wants my chin down, obviously. So there's the parry down and the upward elbow that I love. But the step in rhino elbow that he does would be better in that place because of the parry down and then step in. I was kind of twisting on it as I do. And he's one of these older trainers that you'll meet who do not care about electronic digital bells. Like, no clock's gonna tell me when the round's over. So that was so nice, that knee and step down and kind of like falling into the position of the clinch. That's totally the kind of clinch entry you need to work on, especially when you're just doing clinch. People will kind of just lock themselves into the position in a way that you would never do in a fight. So if you can get into the correct positions to enter into the clinch with your pad holder, that's going to be very helpful for translating into fights. So there, I was just pushing against him to put him in the right distance, and he's showing me how to pull back on the arm. You like slide down on the arm. Watch him do it. See how he just knocks my arm out of the way? It's like a slingshot. The step back as you're pulling down on the arm allows that super spring for the elbow. That was not what he showed me. I don't know why I did that. So from this position is when you're controlling someone's elbow already. Like having my hand on the inside of his elbow is a position I should be in to control his arm. So to have the slide down from that position is good. Here's showing me when to use that upward elbow. See how his hand is already inside? And he angles his elbow in. And so once you've done that upward one, the person is already knocked a little bit, so you can do that right one on top of it. Whereas his arm is going to have tension if I try to do it first. I'm going to get stuck on his arm. So knock him off balance and then throw that elbow. 1, 1, 2.
So that left one loosens it because you've got to
Yeah, distract, yeah. Distract, yeah.
So
yeah.
this is also a position you'll find yourself in, and I think I'm in the dominant position because I'm pushing against his face and I have control of his arm. But as they're kneeing, you can collapse that elbow over. It's very much what Yod Kun Pan does with his hand on the bicep, his soft hand.
It's on one leg.
Timing elbows on your opponent's knees is nasty and awesome. So I'm kind of following him more than probably what I should be doing. I should be moving him off of his spot more.
Yeah. Flip. Yeah. Come on.
And so he's going back to technique a little bit to put it into context.
Balance right.
My balance is no good there.
Yeah.
So I'm not stepping with my left past him. That's where the balance comes from as I pull him to the side of me. See my hands dropping as I'm getting more tired. But again, this is spacing and timing and power all go into pad work. Like, pad work is not just following what your trainer is telling you to do. You should be thinking about your spacing, your timing, your power, moving your trainer off his spot. Like there I had him almost against the ropes and just let him pivot off. I should be trying to get him into the corner. So he's allowing me to be closer, and I'm staying closer in pads now. So I'm turning the strikes into the clinch where you can pivot and trip. So this is off balancing him in order to throw the knee.
My right side is lazy for me.
I wasn't bringing my right leg around enough. See how it's slow? Like I'm tripping him with it, but I don't get it out of the way. Whereas on the left side, I pivot faster, and so the leg comes back easier. I love that elbow. It's hard to aim, but it feels awesome. He's just letting me feel how they all work together. It's hard. It's tiring. It's so much fun. At the very end of things, when you're tired already and your trainer wants you to do 10, they just want you to muster the power that you would need to like bust through a round. But when you're exhausted like that is when you really need your technique, because the power comes out of the technique. So don't let your technique go to shit when you're really tired just because you're tired. You can slow down if you need to. That's a good final teeth.
It's beautiful.
What's that? Muay Khao relentless.
So I'm talking about the relentlessness of Muay Khao and how it's just
What
this
is the
like
Thai word for
steady
that?
stalking
Dern?
your opponent down. They call it dern. It means like walking basically, but it's this relentless, like if you think of like the T-1000 just walking, like he's just coming after you. That's the Muay Khao dern, is you just go. It's like you're not going to be stopped. He's like, Muay Khao, not go back. You might get kicked, but you just keep going. So then he brought me over to the bag to show me how to do knees on the bag, which you will do endlessly as a fighter in a gym. It's one of the few things that they start you out doing repetition a lot when you're like a little kid. The knees on the bag are one of the few things that you will be doing 500 of them every day, regardless of how old you are. I really like his version though. Remember how he showed me the like super chicken leg when you off balance someone? He comes so wide. And he does these little like shuffle steps to get to the outside of the opponent. So as he's stepping to the side, picture his standing leg lining up with the feet of his opponent. There he was showing me where he wants me to knee. It's up in the ribs. It's really high. Oh man, you take like 3 of those and you're out of breath. So I'm staying too far away from the bag. He'll correct it in a minute. But see how he pointed his heel in? That's to get the full chicken wing, to like get the hip out. And you're hitting with your knee, like the inside point of your knee, not your thigh or like the gummy part on the inside. It is with your kneecap, but just on the like side of it. So he wants me to stand up straight so that my hips are in And you pretty much only create space to do the knee and then close it right back up. Here, he'll show it. Look at how close he is to the bag. He's like, if you boom, like if you push your butt back, your knee's not going to be any good. But so you bring the leg around for the knee and look at him close it right back up. Look at his lower back. If you rewind and look at his lower back, you'll see it. So he likes that I'm creating the space and closing it back up, but I let the
Forearms,
distance like weasel its way back in. I keep like coming off of the bag as I keep going because I'm tired. If you stay super close to your opponent like this, they can't knee you unless they do this same technique. This is for super close proximity where most people are not going to be kneeing you when you're that close. But if you do the chicken wing and come up into their ribs, you don't need that much distance and you're closing it back up immediately.
Straight.
So here I'm putting my hips in, but then I'm rounding my back, which you don't do.
No, hip in. Straight.
He's like, not like that. See how he pinches the bag with his forearms? You don't want to hold it with your hands, like you don't want to like grip it. And look at his foot, his standing foot. He stays almost flat-footed, but his heel comes up just a little bit as he's doing the knee. And he wants me to hit up in the ribs. So as you get lazy and tired, your knees are going to get lower, but you don't want to knee someone's hip. It sucks. You get all bruised. You can see I'm gripping with my hands because I'm getting tired. It should be my forearms, like pinching your forearms together. And you can see the distance between the bag and my hips now that's constantly there. Like I'm not upright and keeping my body close, which is his main starting point. So he's telling me to slow down so that I can get the power. The power is the point. There's no reason to go fast on this. Especially if they're doing time. If they're gonna watch you go for a round, take your time. Do it right. So I'm kind of turning it into 3 steps because of the way I'm hopping up in order to get that knee. It should just be the 2 steps, and then he like brings his knee up, like what Cho Hong Tong calls the dog pee-pee. Like you lift your leg like to a fire hydrant, and then slam it in. You don't have to do that 3rd hop that I'm doing, but if you hop against your opponent, it's a really, really good point. I'm just adding steps the way I'm doing it here. Because you can feel where you're hitting on your knee. You'll know whether it's the right spot or not. It shouldn't be slappy. It should be pointy on the side. And you'll see the bag dent when it's right. My left side is a little bit slappy because I'm not coming wide enough before angling in. This is super nice. This is how they treat fighters.
Very good.
When you work real hard and they massage you immediately after.
Yeah.
It's the VIP treatment. But he's saying if you train like this, then you have power for fighting, which is totally true. And here he popped my back. It was the greatest thing ever. It was like, brrr, like all the way up the top.
Oh,
Crew
so
10
good.
is awesome, awesome. Muay Khao for sure.